They were powerful, gritty, masterfully made. And then, they vanished. These 10 war films from the 1970s weren't just critically praised. They were masterpieces that got lost in time, buried by Hollywood, and forgotten by audiences. One of them even cost $6 million and flopped so hard, almost no one saw it. 1. Cross of Iron, 1977. A battle-hardened German sergeant clashes with an arrogant aristocrat officer on the Eastern Front. As Soviet forces close in, the two men wage a personal war amid the chaos, one for survival, the other for medals. Explosions rock the trenches, soldiers crack under pressure, and loyalties fray with every passing hour. Despite being directed by Sam Peckinpah and praised for its realism, the film struggled with poor US distribution and virtually disappeared from theaters. Critics hailed it as a gritty masterpiece, but the public barely knew it existed. 2. The Bridge, 1975. 7 teenage German boys are drafted into a hopeless mission: defend a bridge that no longer matters. They play soldier, excited at first, until the shooting starts. Fear sets in, friends fall, and the horror of war hits them all at once. Although based on a best-selling novel and a hit overseas, it was barely released in the States. The brutal depiction of youthful sacrifice proved too grim for wide audiences, and the film quietly faded into obscurity. 3. Slaughterhouse-Five, 1972. Billy Pilgrim, a soldier who survives the bombing of Dresden, becomes unstuck in time. Drifting between his days in World War II, his dull suburban future, and an alien planet where he's displayed in a zoo. His life unfolds in jarring pieces, stitched together by trauma and absurdity. Directed by George Roy Hill, the film was critically acclaimed but baffled audiences expecting a conventional war story. Its genre-blending narrative left distributors unsure how to sell it, and it vanished despite glowing reviews. 4. A Walk in the Sun, 1978 remake. A platoon of American soldiers lands on the beaches of Italy and treks inland under fire to capture a farmhouse. Along the way, they talk about home, joke, fight, and die. The mission is simple, but the path is brutal. The remake was praised for its grounded performances and period authenticity, but it was never properly promoted. Released in only a handful of cities, it was gone before word of mouth could spread. Most people didn't even know it existed. 5. Tora, 1970. Told from both the American and Japanese perspectives, this epic reconstructs the attack on Pearl Harbor with shocking precision. Commanders scramble, miscommunication reigns, and history changes in real time as ships burn and skies fill with chaos. While it earned Oscar nominations and critical acclaim, the film underperformed at the box office and was overshadowed by later flashier war epics. Over time, it was quietly shelved and rarely mentioned, even though historians still hail it as one of the most accurate World War II films ever made. 6. The Boys in Company C, 1978. A group of young Marines train together, bond, and are shipped off to Vietnam. Once there, everything changes. Idealism shatters. One soldier becomes a junkie. Another questions the mission. Then they are forced to play in a deadly soccer match just to get sent home. It was a sleeper hit in some international markets, but barely registered in the US sandwich between bigger Vietnam films. It never got a chance to stand out, despite being one of the first to show the war's full psychological toll. 7. The Mackenzie Break, 1970. In a remote Scottish POW camp, a cunning German officer plans a mass escape. A British intelligence officer is sent in to break him, mentally, strategically, and fast. What unfolds is a cerebral cat-and-mouse between two brilliant minds playing for high stakes. It had the performances, the tension, and the style, but was released quietly with zero marketing push. Critics loved it, but it was buried beneath flashier titles. Today, it's barely remembered despite its high ratings. 8. Twilight's Last Gleaming, 1977. An ex-Air Force general seizes control of a nuclear missile silo and demands the U.S. government release classified documents about the Vietnam War. He's labeled a traitor, but he might be the only one telling the truth. The movie combined war, politics, and nuclear suspense in one tight package. But its controversial themes, especially so close to Watergate, scared off studio support. It tanked at the box office and then vanished. Until recently, it was nearly impossible to find a good copy. 9. The Human Factor, 1979. A British intelligence agent working in apartheid-era South Africa discovers a leak. Suspecting a double agent, he begins to question everyone around him, including himself. As the net tightens, the spy game turns lethal. With a cast led by Nicole Williamson and directed by Otto Preminger, the film had every reason to succeed. But its release was botched, audiences were confused by its cold tone, and it was gone within weeks. Over time, it developed a quiet cult following, but Hollywood had already moved on. 10. The Passage, 1979. The $6 million flop. A Basque guide is hired to lead a scientist and his family over the Pyrenees to escape the Nazis. Hot on their trail, a sadistic SS officer who'll stop at nothing. The journey turns violent fast. Snowstorms, ambushes, and human cruelty test them at every turn. Despite starring Anthony Quinn and costing over $6 million to make, it flopped hard. Critics hated it. Audiences skipped it. It barely played in theaters and was pulled within days. Today, it's almost impossible to track down, an expensive, forgotten ghost of 70s war cinema. Hollywood may have buried these films, but their stories refuse to die. Some were too bold, too complex, or just released at the wrong time. But every one of them deserves a second life. Drop a comment. Which one shocked you the most? Which will you hunt down tonight? Like the video if you discovered something new, and subscribe so you never miss these forgotten gems. See you in the next deep dive.